Good morning. It is 10:30 a.m. on Friday, June 18th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I've actually been up for a little while. This is 5 more minutes. I so a couple of things. One is that I have the day off today. My employers decided to make today a holiday. It wasn't a sudden decision; it was on the books already. But they were ahead of the U.S. government in officially declaring June 19th, aka Juneteenth, a holiday. I think that's great. I'm pleased that that was able to go ahead and get approval. I mean, I guess there's there was a few people against it, I guess, but like honestly, who doesn't want another holiday? Holidays are great, and this one is one that like increasingly will focus awareness on parts of U.S. history that have sometimes been ignored. I think that's great too. Um, just in case you have still not found out what Juneteenth is, the basic idea here is that when the Civil War ended and slavery was abolished, the United States at that time was still a pretty big place without the modern communication technology that we have now. And so it took 2 months before news that slavery had been abolished finally made its way out to the Texas territory, which was the last place the news reached. And so June 19th, 1865 was the day that it was slavery was finally abolished in the whole territory and not just out east. But in any case, yeah. So today's a holiday, or rather, June 19th is a holiday, and today my work has off in honor of that. So got to sleep in a bit. So I did sleep in, but I also just didn't record the video just right away because with the warm weather, the air conditioner's been running a lot and drying everything out, and so when I first woke up this morning, I got a bloody nose almost immediately, which was just kind of it's not really the note you like to start your day on, and I was just feeling kind of crummy. It was still pretty early then, and was just feeling like I don't have to deal with this. So, I stayed up just long enough to let Rocket go out and pee and to stop my bloody nose, and I went back to bed. And even then, once I got up, I was still just, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's maybe allergies or something, but I was still just feeling like my body was just really resisting the idea of getting up and doing anything of any significance. And so I basically just played video games a little bit. But here I am now. Rock me like a hurricane. I don't know where that comes from. Anyway, the other thing actually I was thinking I was going to talk about is that last night I watched for the first time Solaris, the original 1972 Russian film, which is a science fiction film, and they made an English language remake starring Viola Davis and George Clooney and Jeremy Davies. In 2002, Steven Soderbergh directed it. I don't know if I said that, but I had seen that one and been generally aware of the story, but I had never watched the 1972 original, and I did last night. And so the first thing I would say about it to anyone who's curious about it is that it is very long and slow. I sometimes, even though I think that 2001: A Space Odyssey is a masterpiece, I will certainly qualify any recommendation I make to people when they go to watch it for the first time because it is very slow and contemplative. And if you are going into it expecting the pace of a modern science fiction adventure film, you're going to be bored. But if you can be patient enough to let the story just tell it to you in its own pace, then I think it's amazing. Solaris is similar. It's long and contemplative. It's mostly dialogue. But the basic idea is that there's a space station orbiting a planet called Solaris out in space somewhere that seems to be all one big ocean. But the scientists there think that the ocean itself might actually be one big thinking sentient organism, but very alien. And so the plot focuses around this psychologist who's sent by the people in charge to say, most of the scientists that worked at that station just decided to rotate home and not go back, and then the few people who are left there are not making sense when they talk to us. We need you to go and like figure out what's the deal, what's going on up there. And it turns out that the planet is manifesting aspects of the people's consciousness. It's actually just struck me that it's a little bit like Sphere in that regard. But in any event, it does a lot of philosophical discussions, and the idea of like, if you recreate a person from someone else's memories and thoughts about that person, how much is that person, or how much is that creation the same as that other person? Because they don't know the things that the original would have known. They only know what the observer would have known about them. And, so there's some interesting stuff there. There's a really amazing speech that talks about the difference between wanting to explore new places and just wanting to expand the boundary of home wider. And what that means. Like, are we really looking for truth and novelty out in the universe, or are we just really looking for a mirror? And there's some really interesting stuff. So I'm glad I watched it, but it's definitely a movie that you have to set aside an evening for, and be willing to let it tell itself to you at its own pace, because it's very slow and talky compared to modern sci-fi films. But I liked it. So in any case, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.